Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer with Oculus Rift Reviews. Today we're going to do a review for the Under Presents VR. The Under Presents is a game that's difficult to describe. It's almost two different games. The first is a narrative driven mystery where you can rewind time, fast forward time. It's very similar to the Invisible Hours. The second part is a multiplayer game where you may run into live actors and participate in communicating through hand gestures and movements within your play space. I really cannot review the multiplayer aspect of this game. When I went around the central hub area, I really didn't see other people during my playtime. So this is now on the Steam store. It's available for the HTC Vive, the Valve Index, and the Oculus Rift. It does sort of work with Windows Mixed Reality, at least I got it to work, but I did have to edit the motion controller bindings to make it work. I did publish that on the Steam Workshop, so be careful if you're on Windows Mixed Reality. Yes, it does work, but you are going to have to fix the controller bindings. If you don't know how to do that, don't buy this game. Otherwise, like I said, I've uploaded my fix on the Steam Workshop, and you're free to download that. Again, Fast Lawyer. I did enjoy this game as far as the story-driven part, but it does drop you off without much information. When I started this game, I had no idea what to do or what was going on, and you just slowly discover what you're supposed to do. So if you don't like puzzle elements, especially ones where your hand is not held and you're not really given directions on what to do, this might not be the game for you. But it's not really complicated. You just got to pay attention to some of the details they leave and just be observant. So I didn't consider the puzzles difficult, but you are just kind of dropped off without directions, without much in the way of telling you you're supposed to do this or that. Once you do discover what you're supposed to do, however, this is where the gameplay kind of falls short on perfect execution. A big part of this gameplay is some mechanics that just don't really work well. And I'm not talking about Windows Mixed Reality, where the controls, even with my fix, weren't the best. On the Oculus Rift, I had some troubles with some of the intended interactions that you're supposed to make. There's some that just took several attempts for me to get right. And then the problem was that you ran out of time. And if you run out of time, that's it. And you're done. Even though you do have the rewind time ability, you are limited as far as when the actual semi-puzzles come in. And for example, there's this one part where you had to use the pinch teleport. And I guess I should explain. You do have full locomotion and snap turning available in this game in the options to turn on. But you have a pinch zoom teleportation where you can move a lot faster. This is used in several aspects of the gameplay, and it was very hit and miss when you had to do it. So there were certain areas where you just couldn't get to unless you used this. And I call it pinch zoom, but basically you press whatever button corresponds to that. And on the Oculus Rift, this trigger is the same thing as snapping your fingers. And then you pull yourself forward. Well, to transport yourself to that location, it just didn't always work. And it just led to failures, and unfortunately that leads to the story not going the way that you want. And I got to the epilogue of this game with a less than happy ending, and just unsure of what to do after the epilogue. You're just kind of just dropped off after the epilogue without much direction, almost the same way that you started the game. There are several moments where you're just waiting around for stuff to happen. Again, I know that you can fast forward time and rewind time, but sometimes you're not sure what's going to happen and you don't want to miss something, and then you just stand around there staring at a character just basically twiddling their thumbs, and you're not exactly sure when something's going to start. Here, you're looking at me dying. I did not realize that I was dying. I had no idea what was going on. And then what happens is you're basically just put back to where you started, and you just have to start the whole process again, which can be a little frustrating because, again, you're starting at the very beginning. Again, you can fast forward time, but again, you're just basically trying to see everyone's point of view. So you go back to see, well, what did I miss? And it just becomes a little bit tedious, especially after you've done it so many different times, trying to figure out how to progress the story, what you're supposed to do. I had no idea if you had to save certain people or not, or how to progress the story, where you had to be. Well, eventually I found out that what I had to do is really stop exploring so much. And once I stopped exploring so much and just basically stayed in a safe area, I was able to finish the chapter 2 and go on to chapter 3, which is the final act. I did try several times to go into the hub area, and I turned on multiplayer. By the way, you do have single player or multiplayer options. If you want to see other people, you have to make sure that the multiplayer option is open. However, I never saw anyone else online. Again, this was an Oculus exclusive on the Oculus Quest first. So a lot of the player base is probably gone by this point. It's just the Steam now. And it feels like Steam is a lonely place because maybe not a lot of people bought this game, or there's just not a lot of people online. Or maybe everyone's doing the single player. I don't know. But during my playtime, and I guess finished the game. I'm not sure, but I finished the epilogue. I still haven't run into anybody else. You do run into copies of yourself, and I thought that was other people online until it took me a while to figure out, no, those aren't other people. Those are just past versions of myself, and you do have to use that as a mechanic in the puzzle. So all in all, there were things I liked about this game. I liked the narrative story. I liked the mystery. But there were just a lot of clunky portions of that mechanic that brought the experience down. So for me, this is just a 6.5 out of 10. I hope multiplayer is not dead. That might bring this game even down more for me. But for right now, I can only give this a 6.5 out of 10. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.